Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you certainly know that this is my deep dive into a deck called the Egyptian Tarot. And it's a mass market deck, and it is published by the Brotherhood of Light. And it is based on an older deck of the same or very similar images by C.C. Zane. And so, just in case you are new here, let me give you a quick rundown of what my process, because this is the second time I've done a deep dive, and it's now become my habit, I guess. Every night before I go to bed, I riffle shuffle my mass market color edition of the Egyptian Tarot, and I pull my daily draw card of the day. And then I pull the matching card from my very out of print charcoal gray and white version of the same deck. And I look at them. I notice the differences and I notice the great similarities. Yes, one is color, one is charcoal gray and white, but still the art is very similar. And then I use a second deck to help me unpack my daily draw card for the day. Yeah, that deck is called The Tarot of the Holy Light by Christine Payne-Towler, the wonderful, brilliant creator of that magical deck called The Tarot of the Holy Light. And I do a 3-card spread with that deck. The first card is the significance of my daily draw card for the next day. The second card is the challenge, either positive or negative. And the third card is advice. Yeah, significance, challenge, advice. Typical 3-card spread. And then I go to bed and I wake up and I live my day. And at the end of the day, I come back and I do an analysis of the spread and the daily draw card and how the cards are speaking to each other, how the astrological, the zodiacal significances either match up or are perhaps in contrast. I do all that. And then I do a video, which is what I'm doing now. So friends, let me show you the daily draw card for today, which is, do you know what day today is? Well, hopefully, if you're seeing it on the first day that this is uploaded, you'll know that today is Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. So friends, let me show you the daily draw card for today. Here it is. So yes, February 14th. That was my daily draw card. But it's not the card that we think it is. Exactly. I mean, it is. It is the 6th card of the Major Arcana. But it is not the Lover's card. It is the 2 Paths card. The title of this card is the 2 Paths. And let me show it to you again, right here. So let me give you a description of what you're seeing. You're seeing a man standing at the angle formed by the conjunction of 2 roads. Do you see those roads? Do you see the road coming up this way and this way, this way and this way in both cards? His eyes are fixed upon the ground. His arms are crossed upon his chest. But do you notice the difference between the arm positions of the central men in both cards? Do you see that? In this card, the central male's hands are clearly just crossed over his chest, like you might see in a pharaoh's sarcophagus. Yeah, that crossed hands over the chest pose. In this card, do you see it? His hands aren't just crossed over his chest, they're holding the hands of the women's, they're holding the women's hands on his shoulders. Do you see that? It might be difficult to tell because of the fuzziness of this charcoal gray and white version, but that's what you're seeing. His hands are crossed over his chest and one hand is holding the hand of one lady and the other hand is holding the hand of the other lady. Those hands both being on his shoulders. So that's interesting. That's a very significant difference, I think. The 2 women place a hand on his shoulder, showing him one of 2 roads. So that's the purpose of those women being there. Yeah, one woman is showing him one road and the other woman is showing him the other road. The woman at his right is modestly clothed and has the sacred serpent indicating enlightenment on her brow. She thus personifies virtue. The one at the left wears less clothing and is crowned with the leaves of and vine of the grape wine, right? So she represents vice, the temptress. Above and back, in back of this group, is a genie of justice, hovering in a flashing aureole of 12 rays, 12 being significant, right? Draws his bow and directs the arrow of punishment towards vice. Do you see that? The bow going towards vice? Although, to me, it looks like that bow is going to pass right over her head. But that's generally the aim that apparently this genie is trying to take. We can see that this is a genie because it is crowned with a flame to show that he is a spirit. It is a representation of the aureole of the 12 rays to indicate that justice will be meted out in due time to all as the sun passes through the 12 zodiacal signs. So this is the struggle between conscience and the passions, between the divine soul and the animal soul, as indicated by the creator, C.C. Zane. Very interesting, right? And here we really do have the idea of choice rather than the lover card, for love and romance and okay, so many people I know read the lover card as choice, but not everybody. But this card really does seem to be strongly pointing to the idea of choice. And you'll also see at the top we have the signification of Venus. So the two paths card points to Venus, which is which resides in both Taurus and Libra, from which we get both the cardinal and fixed. We get both the fixed earth and cardinal air vital attributes entering our world. So this is a very interesting card, yeah? The 6 also recalls the, the Hebrew letter Vav, which could be a hook or a spear. But there's an older meaning to Vav, which is a tent pin, a tent peg, you know, the thing that you stick in the ground to keep your tent from flying off into the air. Something used to secure something or to add something. Grammatically, Vav also functions as the word and in cases. So this Vav is the joint, can also be the joining of things, the hooking of things, but the securing of things, like securing a choice maybe. Yeah, you make a choice and you stick to it. But it's also the second letter of the Tetragrammaton, right? Yod He Vav He, the 4 letters of the divine impossible to pronounce name, Yod He Vav He. Yeah, Vav is the second. We consider it to be the male consonant of the 4. Yeah, Yod, first male, He, female, Vav, second male, He, second female. Or sometimes that last one is considered to be kind of an androgen, He, but you know, it depends on who you're talking to. So we got that idea of hooking things, joining things, sticking to things, yeah? We also have kanas. The 6th rune is kanas, which can be things like enlightenment, visions, revelations, inspiration, wisdom, those kinds of enlightenment things, which is pointed to in that, yeah, the woman of virtue has that serpent of enlightenment growing out of her head. Also enthusiasm, also passions, love, creativity, maybe something of the more in a very judgmental world, the vice path, yeah? Very interesting card, rich with meaning. And again, we have Venus here. Beauty, the joining of things, the enjoyment of sensual pleasures, could be heading in the direction of the woman less clothed, which is very judgmentally called the woman of vice that the genie is trying to smite. Or it could be with Libra being the more modest one, right? The more modest Venus, the Venus of virtue, which would be the one, I suppose, that the creator of this deck is saying that we should be walking with. So, what does the creator of this deck say, or what are some of the significances of this card according to the guidebooks? We have things like temptation, love of ease, comfort, luxury. Actually, a lot of them point to the less clothed woman, if you ask me. But it could, resisting sensualism. Okay, so now we're back at the other side. Looking beneath surface appearances, sticking to your resolutions, that stickingness of the tent post from Vav, right? Making a firm decision, taking a firm stand. Stabilizing emotions could be important. Probing for spiritual values, the enlightenment of that snake. Seeking divine guidance. Maybe that genie. Selecting your path with care. Unfaithful, affectionate nature. Be careful of becoming a playboy or a playgirl, right? But also appreciate the friends that surround you. A very Venusian thing to do. So this was my main card for the day. And I was thinking when I got this card the next day is Valentine's Day. Maybe something like that'll pop up for me. Let's move right along. So let's move right into the three cards that help me to unpack this one card. And let me show you those cards right now. The three cards helping me to unpack the two roads card, the two paths card, were, from left to right, the Five of Wands, the Hermit reversed. That didn't thrill me very much when I first saw that. That was my challenge card, right? And then for advice, the Fool. And the Fool's appeared for me a couple of times. But let's begin with the Five of Wands, because I've gotten the Five of Wands before. Let me show you this very intricately designed card. Now we have the two pillars. I just wanted to check, yes, one has the sun and one has the moon. And above that, there is a radiant sun beaming through what looks like it could be a crystal. And that light is spread out to a disk beneath, right? And you see the associations here are Mars in Leo, right? So Mars is associated with Aries. So the Five of Wands points to the Aries decanate of Leo and its subruler Mars, from which the cardinal aspect of fixed fire's vital attributes enter our world, right? So Mars is beaming through Aries' house of Leo, my sign, my sun sign, and into our world, into our natal charts, or into the question that we're asking of the tarot. But because this is the third decanate, now the Five of Wands points to the third decanate of Leo, so we have an exaltation because it's upright. And the exaltation is the sun in, wait for it, the sun in Aries. So we've got Aries planet Mars beaming through, ostensibly, in the most general sense, beaming through Leo. Yes, it's the Mars house, the Mars room of Leo's house, but still, beaming through Leo. And we have the sun, Leo's planet, Leo's light, beaming through Aries' house. All in this card. Yeah? So interesting, very, very interesting, I think. And this card has appeared for me twice. It appeared for me first, well, no, not first. It appeared for me reversed on February 6th. That's the most recent. But it also appeared for me upright on January 11th. It was, interestingly, with the Hermit in the Egyptian Tarot. Yeah, the daily draw card for that day was the Hermit, and this card appeared upright to help unpack that. But both times it appeared as the last card, as the advice card. Today it's just the unpacking. So how is this going to help me unpack the and I've forgotten the name of the card again, the Two Paths card. Yeah, the sixth card of the Major Arcana, which is called the Two Paths card in the Egyptian Tarot. Well, this card points to things like opulence, prima materia, abundant everywhere and yet valued nowhere. That could point to perhaps one of these two or both of these ladies here, converging divergent rays of light and then splitting them. Well, they split out, yes, but it's also the converging of divergent rays of light. So it's the bringing together of energy, the process of self-cultivation, evolution of the soul. That would be choosing the right path or helping me to unpack which path to choose. It asks us to be active interpreters of our experience. Always a good thing to remember. It also reminds us of the smelting of gold, the boiling and skimming off the scum of what we are trying to smelt till we get to the pure essence that we're looking for. Self-willed empowerment of Mars is radiating through Leo. Also, the sun is radiating through Aries, right? So self-willed empowerment. Able to follow our own lights and enjoy participating in the dance of life. All seem wonderful things that if I do that, I would imagine that means that I would be choosing the best of two or more paths. Makes sense, doesn't it? So the card that was to be the challenge for me seems to be very clearly a negative challenge, something that could be an obstacle for me rather than something to reach for, something to strive for. And we got the Hermit. The Hermit is a beautiful card, and it reminds me of, what does it remind me of? It reminds me of the Page of Discs a little bit. It's like the Page of Discs all grown up because of two things. One, that creature at his surrounding his feet is a very similar creature to the one surrounding the feet of the Page of Discs. Also, the Page of Discs holds this kind of drum in his hand, a drum on a stick, and that's kind of what that sun looks like to me, rather than a lantern. It reminds me of the drum on a stick for the Page of Wands. I'm sorry, the Page of Discs. But we have the Hermit all dressed in red, the red of vitality and of passion perhaps, which makes sense because at the bottom we see the attribution being Leo. Again, my sign, Leo, which is the domicile of the sun from which these fixed fire's vital attributes enter our world. Beautiful card. I love the sun, love the Holy Spirit above. We've got the crozier of the bishop. We've got a vital landscape in the background, but we see that that civilization is far off in the distance, right? Can you see that? I think it's there. There in the distance, you see a city, perhaps a walled town. But we got this card, well, before we move there, this also points to things like Teth. Yeah, Teth is the ninth, what am I trying to say? It's the ninth. I've somehow I erased some of my information on my cheat sheet down here. Teth points to it. I'm sorry. Let me begin again. This is the 9th card. 9, the 9th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Tet, which symbolizes things like new life. Yeah, it could also be a serpent. Actually, there's a very interesting dichotomy in Tet. It could be new life or a serpent. It could be a spinning wheel, more from the Tet in the Phoenician alphabet, which predates Hebrew. The letter was actually a circle with a cross in the middle. So we get that idea of a spinning wheel. But there's also the idea of the possibility of good and evil in Tet. Something we need to be careful of. Now, the rune associated with this is kanaz. And kanaz is many things, but it can also be the idea of enlightenment and the light of a lamp, which makes sense for the hermit, right? So, when we get this in reverse, what do we get? Well, we get that the serpent at the hermit's feet handily symbolizes our collective, not quite tamed human instincts. Yeah? The unconscious is leading our lives here in this reversed card. When this card is reversed, it represents a constant undertow, buffeting human civilization with subconscious and regressive pressure, ready to drag us down into our fears and phobias whenever we are stressed. So instead of moving towards enlightenment, we're being, in reverse, dragged down into our subconscious fears, into our phobias, into the world of our shadow, perhaps. So that is the challenge, and that makes sense, right? When we've got this idea of opulence and converging rays of light and process of self-cultivation and active interpreters of our experience being the unpacking of the daily draw card, the challenge is that instead of this, you could slip into this, right? We could slip into the fears, into the phobias and the unconscious, which is a definite possibility because, like I said, just a couple of days ago, I took a pretty big psychological, emotional hit. So that was, I think, appropriate caution for me. Now remember, reversed cards are not you're a bad boy or girl or non-gendered person. The reversed cards are not saying you're in trouble, you're watch out, you're gonna hurt yourself real bad, or you're gonna do something bad, or whatever. Yeah, that's not what it's medicine. We can think of reversed cards as medicine. It could also be something internalized, or it could be something that we're trying too hard to achieve. But I think really the very simple reading of this card from the guidebook seemed the most appropriate. And so for the advice for me, we got the Fool. Love the Fool. Love the Fool in this card. Love the dog at his feet. Love that the Fool is an androgen, both male and female. And you see that the Fool is what? It's the sun. Yeah, and the sun, what is the sun? The Fool points to the sun, which resides in Leo, from which these solar fixed vital attributes enter our world. So yes, this is me again, right? The Hermit and the Fool together point to me. One of them is the planet in my sun sign, and one is my sun sign with that planet. Coolness, right? The Hermit is the mature Fool, perhaps. The maturing Fool, because it's not the end of the road, right? So, the Fool. Love this card. Love the red fire beneath the Fool. And the Fool is not only the sun, which resides in Leo. It's also, well, it depends on which system you're going to look at. Some systems place the Fool before the world, which would make the Fool Shin and the world Toph. This deck places the Fool after the world, before the Magus, and so the Hebrew letter would be Tav, which is a cross, a mark, as in the X marks the spot is another meaning for the Tav. It could also be humankind's ultimate destination, the culmination of our divine service to perfect the world. So we've come through the world and we've come to the culmination. So that would make sense for this being the final card in the series, right? It represents completion. Still talking about Tav, it represents completion before beginning again with the original oneness of Aleph. So that Tav really makes sense to me as the Fool, being that bridge between the completion and the beginning. It also, for the runes, is Ingwaz, the great god Ing, which is a god of fertility, retreat, growth, all of those things. Yeah, retreat and growth, the pulling back and the moving forward, and the fertility of that space between retreat and growth. Perfect, I think, for the Fool, yeah, because then we get into the Magus, and then we start moving forward again. So, what does the Fool mean in this deck? Well, it means for several things. The end always implies the embeddedness of the beginning. Now, ends are the beginnings of new things, right? Access to infinite potential because the Fool is dragged down by nothing. The Fool has relieved him, her, their selves of all burdens and is now free, the ultimate of potential energy. The Fool for God is another way of thinking about this, in the Franciscan sense, yeah? Living in and for the Holy Spirit being a representation of Sophia for the Theosophers. And this again links the world and the Magus. Self-cultivation lifts up those around them. So remember, in this card we had self-cultivation, and here we remember that cultivation of self also lifts up those who are around us, like a bodhisattva, like a saint, perhaps even, in the more Christian context. And let me read from the book here, because I love what Christine Payne-Towler writes about this. The Fool's only aspiration is to serve, share, and perform his practices in humble gratitude for love's sake only. His self-cultivation ceaselessly lifts up the fallen ones with the power of sophanic compassion and understanding. Isn't that beautiful? That's absolutely lovely. So we're free to follow he is free. We are free to follow our inner lights when the opening is showed by Sophia. And then we can leap in as the Magus once again. Perhaps we can focus on what potentials are, what is that word? Are imminent. What potentials are imminent for us? That's a foolish thing. That's the thing that is appropriate for the Fool. Our imminent potential, because it's all potential here. So that you see that thread, right? From the choiceness to the self-cultivation and the bringing together of the light, and then be careful of the dark, the shadow, be careful of falling into the unconscious, and instead recognize the pure potential within. Recognize that our self-cultivation is going to not only raise us up, but raise up those around us. And to express compassion for all of us, including ourselves. Which were good things for me to remember, I think, today. And today was a very active day, actually. Probably one of my most active days so far since I got back from camp. I got into my office, I recorded a Valentine's video letter to my mom, and I sent that off. And I ordered a couple of decks that were on really good sale that I've been wanting for a long time, and the price was good, so I ordered them. And then I what? Then okay, led into temptation, but good temptation, I think. Another one of my friends from our community, I won't mention her name just in case, but very dear friend of mine, whose husband has the same name as me, which is interesting. Anyways, she had gotten a copy of a deck, very interesting deck called the Minotauro. The Minotauro. It's a combination of the word Minotaur and Tarot, and it's the tarot based on the stories around the Minotaur, Theseus, and Ariadne. Ariadne's thread, right? The one who helps Theseus. Ariadne has popped up for us in this deep dive several times, right? And so when I saw her talking about that deck, and she showed some images, it's very intriguing. And she was asking for, her deck lacked a LWB, a little white book. And so I was curious about it. And so I found a place that was in France that did facsimile copies of that deck, because it's completely way out of print. And so I ordered one of the facsimile copies that comes with two little white books, one in French and one in English. So, and I sent my friend the little white book PDF from that purchase, which I did today. And so because I was ordering that deck to be shipped to me, that deck was being shipped from France to Germany to be shipped to me. Because my receiver is in Germany, I thought, well, I might as well add a deck to do a combined shipping, right? Save me money on shipping. And so I got another deck. I found the Witch's Tarot by Robert M. Place, not Robert M. Place, by Stuart Kaplan was available there. So I ordered that. And so I'm going to get those two. So yes, today I ordered a bunch of decks, but I also completed my recording the videos for my first week of classes. That went off pretty well. And I got I had worked on a manual, an explanation of how to register for our online workbook content for our brand new textbook for next semester in Korean. And so I'd given it to a native Korean speaker who also works at our university, and she sent the corrections back to me. So I wanted to share it with the rest of the faculty. But here's where my little bit of unrecognized pride and pride reared its head. Kind of a leonine thing, maybe. Remember, Leo is prominent in today's spread. We've got both in the Five of Wands, we've got Leo, and in the Hermit, we've got Leo, and in the Fool, we got Leo. We got the sun shining all over the place. All of it's unpacking all of it unpacking the Libra decadent of Taurus, but still a lot of sun in the 3-card spread, a lot of Leo. And so what I had said was that I would send me a message, and I'll give you the PDF file for what I and my proofreader did. And so a couple of people sent me messages, and then came well, why don't you just upload it to the shared, we have a shared cloud folder. Upload it there. And I was resistant. I did not want to do that. Then somebody else said the same thing. And I didn't say no directly. I said, well, I'd really like to know who is really interested in using it, so I know how many people are actually interested in it for the future, to see if I would continue doing this kind of thing for us. And then I realized that yes, that is part of it, but that wasn't really the whole thing. Yeah, underneath that was that, no, I'm not asking for money, but I am asking for a little bit of recognition. I really wanted people to ask me for it so that I would feel appreciated, because I could then be the generous Leo person and give it away for free, right? If I just put it up online, nobody has to ask me for it. And I realized that. And so what do you think I did? I put it up online. I put it up in the shared folder, and realized how that Leo-ness of me wanted to have the opportunity to be beneficent, to be generous. And this way I wouldn't get the chance to feel as generous as I wanted to, you know? Heck, anybody could just go and use it. So there was that potential for the drop into this, I think, which I recognized in that, especially in that one part. And I overcame it. I recognized it. And so I uploaded it, and I didn't fight anybody about it. I didn't stamp my foot and pout. I just did it and observed my own reaction to it. If that makes sense, right? So there was a little bit of that choosing here in the Lover's card. I got a couple of Valentine's Day's messages, but not from people who I might want to have. I mean, yes, I got it from friends, which is wonderful, and thank you very much, and that's wonderful, but I didn't get the kind of romantic kind of Valentine's Day messages that part of me was thinking might come with this card, but no, this isn't the lover card. This is the choice card, right? And so that was pretty clear. Don't you think so? If you do, let me know in the comments below. If you don't, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And friends, if you are still here, thank you very much, and hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of this and other people might get something out of it as well. It draws eyes to the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. After next weekend, I will be back to my old schedule of probably only 3 videos a week. So you might want to get notifications when I do upload. And comment below. I would really love to hear from you. And friends, if you want to buy either of these decks, the mass market version, the color version, is readily available of the Egyptian Tarot. I have a link to the Amazon page below. I get no money if you use it. It's there for you. Because I'm a generous Leo. And I also have a link to the wonderful Christine Payne-Towler's site so that you can purchase this deck. She's got both a color and a black and white deck. I highly recommend the larger. The cards are larger, but the color version is just so beautiful. I highly recommend this and the guidebook, at least one of the 2 guidebooks to go with this deck. And there's a link to that below. And if you want a reading from me, my email address is below as well. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Shoot me an email and we'll get you a reading. So friends, here we are. Happy Valentine's Day. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.